Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Imperial HoloNet. I am JD123,
Nero.
and today we are doing another episode of a series of retrospective events. This time on the Star Wars prequels, I mean Kingdom Hearts Burst by Sleep. A story about a guy who wanted to become a master, and an old dude who says he should turn to the dark side to get it. Oh, wait, that's Star Wars prequels, isn't it? No, wait, that's Burst by Sleep. Which story are we talking about here? No, it's Birth by Sleep. We're talking about
So
Kingdom
let's
Hearts
just get
Birth.
this out of the way. It's hard not to compare this to the Star Wars prequels because it basically is prequelizing to certain extents
It is
the Kingdom
well
Hearts
that and
series.
it is the Star Wars prequels in many ways than that.
Yeah, and sadly for all the wrong reasons.
Um, no, I'm talking about just the story. I mean, you got the
Oh
account,
yeah, but I mean
the
that for all the
counts.
wrong reasons.
Oh, right. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna start here. But before let's get this part out of the way. Let's talk about gameplay. Cole, you played the game. What's the gameplay like?
Um, by the way, after this we should probably do a best thing, worst thing for both of us. But gameplay wise, this game sets itself apart from one and two and Chain of Memories. With the command system, it's a bit of a departure, sort of, from the regular Kingdom Hearts gameplay. I mean, you have commands, but this time you can get commands, more intricate commands that take multiple button presses, finishing commands, different styles, basically, and no MP bar like one and two are known for having a man bar. So for that, it's pretty good. The gameplay is fun. Some structural issues kind of hinder it at times, but if you're playing across one character, it's pretty fun, and I'll give it that. Also, the shoot lock is extremely fun. It's kind of like the limit break of the Kingdom Hearts verse.
Nice. Okay. Best thing, worst thing. Um,
First of all,
best thing. Probably the villains. I think they're probably like the Star Wars prequels. The best thing about the movie, especially we're into this. The best thing about the game. Don't want to get too much in the Star Wars prequels, but um, they are the most best. Sorry, they are the
mm-hmm.
best acted, the most interesting. This is the best version of Xehanort. I like him more than Zemnis. I like him more than Ansem. This is my favorite version, played by the now past Leonard Nimoy. Live long and prosper, Mr. Spock.
Yep.
And of course, another one of my favorite villains, Vanitas, who, spoiler alert, we're going spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, we're going for it. Yeah, spoiler alert for any of you who have not heard or who have not played the game. We'll tell you whether you should play the game at the end, or if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, you've already played it already. So just listen to us talk about this.
He's pretty much evil Sora, and that is the most interesting concept you will ever hear. Worst thing, a part of me just wants to say the heroes in full, but I don't think I can go that far. Just because I was watching the cutscenes just this morning, a little bit, a few minutes ago. I didn't finish it, so I probably should have waited. Oh well. Probably I'll just say Terra then. He's a moron. I like Ven. I just when I was seeing, I liked him. He had a very just kind of bubbly personality to him. Even more so than Sora, I think. And
Yeah,
he comes off smarter than Sora. Um,
yeah.
and I think I can get in far into Aqua, but I do like Aqua quite a bit, actually. So
Mm.
I'll just take the easy out and say Terra, since I don't want to generalize the heroes too much.
So my best thing is going to be echoing what Joel said. The villains are probably one of the best parts of this game. I will say structural issues hinder them to some degree in a lot of aspects, but we'll get into that later on. My best thing, I think, is Aqua. Out of any of the characters in the game, she's the one I understand why she's doing the thing she's doing the most. She's the one I can get behind the most, even more so than Ben. And I think she is the shining light of this game. The biggest problem with this game is Terra. Flat out. I'm gonna say this, Joel. I'm going to say this.
Mhm.
Sora is a moron in Dream Drop Distance. He is going against a lot of the knowledge that I thought he had in previous games. That version of him is smarter than Terra in this game.
Yeah.
Terra, I don't I don't get what they were doing with Terra. I think they wanted him to turn to the dark side, but it's written so inconsistently, or at least the ideas are never fully realized.
Okay, okay.
For me to
I was watching the beginning of this game, and Master Erica was going on about how you have like this drive for power, and I'm like, what drive? I don't even. You don't look like
yeah,
You don't even look like a terrible person.
yeah,
I believe Anakin Skywalker's turned to the dark side. At least that. At least Hayden Christensen played it off where I can like believe it. This guy just plays it off like so stoic. There's not even like he's not even whiny.
yeah. Well, we'll start with general characters. Let's get Terra out of the way, shall we? Let's really get into his character. I will even say this: he's the most unsympathetic protagonist in a video game I have ever seen.
I can't even feel for him. Like you know
Yeah,
that's okay. You know that scene in okay. I'm just gonna forget it. I'm going to go all over with Star Wars prequels because I feel like that's the best point of reference I have.
yeah,
You know that scene in Revenge of the Sith where like they make Anakin a council member, but he's not a master, and Anakin kind of just blows his lid. I
yeah,
mean, he kind of has the right to. I mean, it is an embarrassment, but
yeah.
Tara's not even like even Tara doesn't even go like it's not fear. How can he get? How can I be on the council? Like Tara just kind of just goes, okay, I'm gonna be alone right now. Like there's no anger, no rage, not even like some jealousy. I
To be fair, the Japanese version of Terra, from the videos I've seen, is much better acted than the person who played Terra, Jason something. And I think the person who played Terra is the most miscast of the game.
oh no doubt.
Mainly because and I agree, he plays it so stoically, and there's very few times where we let him see some emotion flow through his performance. The only times I ever really see him very emotional is at the beginning when he's talking to Xehanort. He says, "Help me understand, Master Xehanort. What is it that I failed to learn?" And of course, when he is responsible for the death of Aragus.
Right, and also like you said, does he turn to the dark side? Is he's not evil at the final battle? He's fighting with his friends. So it's not like it's a Mustafar thing, where he
Might
not.
I point this out, Joel, that I think I think if this had come before Kingdom Hearts 1, I might have bought it a bit more because part of the issue with using the darkness as the bad side, we've had Kingdom Hearts 2. And I know that is not as black and white as it seems. They have cemented in universe it is not that black and white.
Right, this ain't Star Wars, which is funny because we're making comparisons to Star Wars. This
Yes.
game makes comparisons to Star Wars. The Keyblade Masters are the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
Can we just say
Yeah.
that they're the Jedi? Ericus is the Jedi Council, and with all the problems it bestows of the Council.
Yeah.
Um, um, actually, that gets me into something which I kind of wanted to start with, but you wanted to go to Terra, so um,
I just thought we'd get the most negative part of the video out of the way first.
to quote a good friend of ours by the name of Steve Baxey, does this game does this game deserve its right to exist? Earn the right to exist.
I will say if it focused on Aqua, maybe. If it had focused on only her, I could have seen an entire game warranted in this time.
I'm not saying you couldn't have
Ventus,
done a prequel to Kingdom Hearts. I'm just saying
yeah, I agree. We're not saying you can't do it, but
structurally.
structurally, and well, to touch on that too, structurally, this game is so disjointed, and the structure itself makes the gameplay even more repetitive because the characters don't play very differently from each other right at the beginning. Sadly,
Yeah, like I'm watching a version on the internet right now called the chronological version, which is like a fan edit of like the different cutscenes and how they're all placed together in like how they would interact as one whole kind of a thing.
uh huh.
So I'm not watching it like that, but I can see definitely, you know, There is actually one interesting thing that I noticed when watching that. Um, okay, so Ventus goes to Aurora, and he meets the three good fairies, and they say, ages ago, someone took Aurora's heart, and I'm like, ages ago? You mean like a couple hours? Was did time move differently, or what have you?
The continuity in this game is very, very weird. Part of that is due to how the game is set up. So, for any of you who do not know how this game is set up, basically you follow the three different stories. You can pick from either Terra, Aqua, and Ben. You pick one of those three. You complete their story. Then you go back, complete the other two individually until you get enough qualifications to get the final episode, and you complete the game.
Right. I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea.
I don't think so either, but
I just don't think you have a good story.
yeah, and
Okay.
part of that, and to add on the gameplay wise, I think it would have been better had we visited different places in the worlds a bit more so than we already did in this game. Because Ventus is very small. He's with Jock in the Cinderella world, trying to help.
That was fun, though. I have to
That
admit.
was fun. And it's things like that where I just wish we had more stuff like that, where we had more variety between the levels, so not everything felt the same.
Right. And about that, as I had a point and I lost it. To be fair, I like this game more than I think I like Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh yeah, I'll go that far too. I think the thing about this, I'll say this game has more consistent ideas. They just are never taken. They're just never fully developed to the extent they need to make this game fully work.
I'm going to quote somebody, Hellfire Commentaries, because one of the guys brought this up during their walkthrough, and he said something about this. He sees, like, he feels more for he likes the ideas and the concept of the story, but it's hard to sympathize with the heroes and like the villains, because the heroes lose too easily and the villains win too easily.
Yes.
Like,
and I will say through cop-outs, I think the way Xehanort gets Terra's body, I think, is the most contrived thing. Actually, you know what? No, I can buy that.
I forget how, so I don't remember.
Basically, Xehanort makes Terra look at Vanitas and Ventus fuse together to make the Kai blade. And then
Kai blade. Everybody says Keyblade still, though.
Yeah, the Keyblade, X-Blade, whatever you want to call it.
I liked the X-Blade when I was reading.
I do too. But when he does that, he takes his heart out of his body, and then when Terra looks back, his heart is in Terra. He takes his body willy-nilly.
I think Terra.
To be fair, though,
would it have been more interesting if Terra just had gone straight to the dark side, but realized, but then kind of come back, but then realized by the time it was too late and Xehanort had taken over?
I think what they should have done is do what they did with Riku in 2, but prolong it a bit farther. Give him a bit more time to come around.
Don't you mean
and
one?
to be yeah, 1 and I mean both 1 and 2 combined.
Okay.
But now, to be fair, Joel and I are not going to sit here through this whole video just saying what we wanted to see. The problem is the ideas are all there.
I'm writing a
all
series
of them
about
are there.
it. I'm writing a series, so that's what I'm already doing. Yeah.
But all the ideas are there. They're just never interlinked the way they should and are never taken to the fullest extent.
And the sad thing is, I think it also suffers from prequelitis and just what happens when you write backwards and not write forwards. Is that you end up with stuff where Master Xehanort, well, to be fair, Kingdom Hearts 1 was unexpected success, so I can't really blame it, but Master Xehanort doesn't feel like he was always meant to be the penultimate villain.
Yes.
And that's a shame, because I love Master Xehanort. I think he's the best version. I think he's the best version. That's why I like Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep even more than 2. I think he's just a better villain to watch and just do his thing. I think that's also because of the voice acting. Leonard Nimoy knows he's hamming up a villain here, so...
Yeah.
And I will always prefer a hammy villain to, like, a deadpan, I'm an emo villain like Organization 13 villains.
To be fair, I think Zemnis gets a bit better in his. I always like Paul St. Peter, and I think the way Paul St. Peter does his performance in that game is fine. The other ones are hit or miss. Also, another one, the one from Organization 13 is in this game, and some of them from the Organization 13 are in this game, especially Zigbar or Break.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Some things are a little still convoluted though. Like
Yes.
I think like Xehanort clearly has a what they call it, a Xanatos gambit. Um, I don't know what the exactly where that term comes from. I just know it's like basically it's like this he's gonna win no matter what. He has like 20 contingency plans. Um, but my problem I think with Xehanort is a lot of those contingency plans are way too easy to like. They seem so convenient,
Yes.
and then you get into the
Every
problem with,
bit of his plan goes off without a hitch almost.
and it feels too perfectly planned. Like
Yes.
now, don't get me wrong. I love master manipulators, and Palpatine is probably the best. Um, and I
But
think
the thing is, with Palpatine, we have had 3 movies to really set in stone that he is a manipulator, that he is
well
always
that and he
pulling
has a
behind the
couple hundred
scenes.
years worth of Sith lore.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
um,
So we've had time to get to there. And with this iteration, I don't have that.
I like the grand kind of plans where there is an end goal, but the process to get to that end goal is very lucid, and it's more like, oh, okay, I have to adapt now to this situation. How do I adapt? I adapted. Now I can continue moving towards my end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like I might have certain things laid out, and I hope things still go in a certain direction. But it's not like I meticulously plotted every. Well, you do have backup plans, but it's not like every little thing went perfectly just the way I wanted. It's more like I'm going to push you here because I know that you're going to generally go in this direction for the plan to work.
And part of the problem with that too is I feel like Ventus and Terra fall into those plans a bit too easily. They get both of them into Terra even more so are so manipulated so easily that it makes it hard to sympathize with them when all this bad stuff happens. I can sympathize more with them, don't get me wrong, but I think I needed more with.
I think Ven plays it off, and I think a lot of that's the acting as well. Ven sometimes feels like a naive kid.
Yeah,
Like
and sometimes to an unbelievable degree. The
little,
fact that with 1 or 2 sentences, Vanitas gets him to leave the world. That was a bit too contrived.
a little bit, but okay. Did you remember the Kingdom Hearts, this Ven Snow White world by any chance? How much of that do you know?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a little times where Ven comes off like a little kid, like a kid. I probably kind of buy that because he feels like a sheltered kid.
Yeah. The issue with that though is I'm trying to dig at this game with what's there to apply to your point. But the problem with that is I don't spend enough time with him as a sheltered kid to get that. I think part of the issue too is I think I needed to spend more time with them as friends in the Land of Departure.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, when I was noticing this, is Ven does overly worships Terra, I think, to a silly degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of just weird. Where was I going with this? We were talking about the plans, yeah. Of course, DDD just goes over the top with the whole time travel thing, which I don't like. I prefer plans to be more just lucid in the moment.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this game hinges on the sake of convenience, and it asks you not to think about these things.
It also hinges on too much prequelitis.
Yeah.
Like, we meet Maleficent because she's big in the first game.
And the other thing is we're doing so many things that we think that we are expecting to pay off later. I'd be fine with that if there was a decent story at the forefront.
And there isn't.
Which I'll give the game this. 1/3 of it is good. I'll give it, and that's Aqua's story. Which let's talk
A
about
bit of Ven's story too. I think.
a bit of Ben's story, but I can't completely say that because parts of it are not. It's not completely even. I'm not even going to touch upon Tara's story because I'll just
What
be
parts for you
romantic.
weren't even? I never got to finish all of it, so my memory's a little hazy.
Um, Aqua, I think out of the three voice speaking of to touch on one more thing on then I think Jesse McCartney phones it in this time.
Really, I didn't get that when listening to this stuff a little bit.
There are times where I think he's not taking it far enough. There are times where he does play it right. The scene where Aqua and then are at the Keyblade graveyard and he says, "I'm asking you as a friend, please just put an end to me."
Yeah, I definitely think Ven's end story is probably one of my favorite parts of the game.
Yeah. I will say to getting to him saying that I don't completely buy. I can buy it to some degree, but I think I need more time with that. And that's going to be what me and Joel are probably going to say throughout this whole commentary.
Maybe
I
also
mean,
just bad writing and need a better script to
yeah,
really get the.
yeah, this game has a really weak script. Maybe part of it isn't. Maybe part of Ben isn't his performance. Maybe part of it is his dialogue.
I think it's the dialogue.
Um,
I don't hear phone in. I hear just weird dialogue.
Aqua's, in
And
my
dubbing is
opinion,
always weird anyway, so.
Aqua's Willa Howard. If you don't know who she is, she plays Thea on Arrow. And that's a different story on how she is on Thea. But here, she's I've grown to like her, and I think she's a very unique sound for Aqua. I always found the Japanese voice actress for Aqua very more emotional, but I like the way Willa Howard portrays her because it gives her more of a sense of maturity.
Oh yeah, she's the Obi-Wan Kenobi
Yes,
of this whole
and
thing.
that works and that works to Nomura's advantage here because
But Cole, important question: does she have the high ground?
uh to some degree, yes.
Good, because that's how you win. You have to need the high ground.
Well, actually, no, she doesn't
Oh,
because at the end of the Keep Graveyard, she's on the ground, and
well,
Vanitas is swinging the X blade around, and
well,
she's on. That's a different story.
how
But
she
anyway,
survived? I don't know. She didn't have the high ground.
good point. But
That's a major inconsistency with the story. Needed the high ground.
she is the most level-headed of the three, and she's the one I can understand the most why she's doing the things she's doing. I understand why she helps the characters when she does. I can understand why she is going along with certain things when she does, and I also like that she makes decisions for herself.
She doesn't get tricked by anybody either.
Yeah. To go back to Tara for a minute. The other annoying thing with Tara, which is when I think he was supposed to turn to the dark side but didn't, I think somehow maybe,
I wonder if
is
there was like a rewrite halfway through the.
I would be willing to bet there was. And considering how this game, from just watching the first trailers of this game, I'm willing to bet a lot of this was rewritten.
I wonder
But
if the idea was to really make Terra the actual villain of Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3. But then they
that would have been,
decided to add Master Xehanort in, which I guess as a retrospective was a good thing on my part because I love that version.
yeah.
But then
The
again, Master Xehanort looks a lot like Ansem in the design, while Zem just
yes,
looks more like Terra.
yeah. The thing with Terra is you have the conceit for him to fight most of the heroes or the side heroes in this game, which leads me to believe that he's supposed to be the anti-hero to some degree. Problem is, the way it's played, it never is that. And
My
they have to keep contriving reasons for him to keep fighting the heroes. And at one point I started to laugh because at the end of one of the things, one of them is asking the reason why he did everything. He said, "I was just following my heart."
don't go breaking my heart.
And I laughed at that because that's logic Kingdom Hearts uses, but it has used it so well in the past. And I'm like, wow, you really.
And there are moments where I think like okay, like you know that I remember a moment now where he like gives Brig the scars.
Yes.
Like I think that's like them trying to say, "Ooh, he's falling to the dark side." But the biggest problem is the ending. He should be fighting his friends, not hugging and making up and stuff. That's a,
Or at least there should be more conflict between the three. Because he was responsible for the death of. He's partially responsible for the death of his master.
but to be fair, Mr. Ericus wasn't really in the right mind back then.
Let's talk about that real quick. Ericus, I think, is in some ways even more unsympathetic than Terra.
He's the Jedi Council.
Yes, but the problem with him is we don't spend. I hate to say this again. We don't spend enough time getting to know why he's doing all these things. He comes off as an extremist for the light without having any good reason of being that way.
Master Xehanort seems more moderate than him.
Yes, and that's a sad.
He's supposed to be your evil person.
Yeah. The sad thing, and the thing I'm realizing the more I talk about it here, is even the ideas that are here get kind of in the way they interlinked fight against each other to a lot of degrees, especially Ericus and Xehanort.
Xehanort, I realize, thinking about this, is he's a tragic. He's not like an evil take over the world villain. Well, he kind of is by the end, but he's more like, I want to do this experiment, but I know this experiment's gonna kill a bunch of people, but I'm still amoral anyway. I'm gonna do it. He's that kind of villain.
Yeah, especially, and I said it a couple videos ago. I don't understand why he's trying to reawaken the Keyblade Ward. The logic in the game gives us, from what Xehanort tells us, he says the world beyond the Keyblade world is supposed to be something that there's a world beyond the Keyblade War, and he wants to see what that is. He wants to know what.
I get the sense he needs to recreate some horrible event in order to have something to happen.
And that's basically it. Create the Keyblade War again, and then a new world will come. That's what he wants.
Makes sense to me. I don't know what that. I think that makes sense.
I would agree. The thing is,
it's like you have to set up a nuclear bomb in order to get what you. It's sort of like, this can only happen if I set up a nuclear bomb. I'm going to see if mutants can exist. I'm going to set up a nuclear bomb. That's a horrible idea, but kill many people. I don't care. Time to set it off the bomb.
It's like evolution. I think that's Xehanort promoting evolution.
So he's Davros from Doctor Who, who genetically forced evolution on his people.
But it's hard to even say that because he may go into this more in the reports he gives, but. Beyond that, it's hard to really know anything beyond that.
I just always get the sense he's a mad scientist.
I think.
Well, science has always kind of been his thing since this first game.
Yeah, well, no, that's Ansem.
Who is part Xehanort, to be fair.
No, I mean Ansem the Wise.
Oh.
Remember, the reports in the first Kingdom Hearts are Ansem the Wise's reports, I believe.
No, I thought they were Xehanort as Terra, who took Ansem.
No, I think the reason I'll argue with you with that is because he mentions his other apprentices. He mentions Ienzo in here somewhere.
To be fair, the other apprentices were with him at the time.
Yeah, it's hard to say at this point. Maybe part of it is it's hard to really know. It's hard to
in universe.
Universe to combine these together to make any coherent sense of Xehanort's plan. His plan may make sense with more context.
I think
at the basic level it does, but I think it's a bit too easy of a plan. And part of that too, may be just how easy it is for him to achieve this. And the other question that I don't get is why he's waited this long.
I just always assumed age finally had got him age and experience.
No, but to add to your point, to add to this, Joel, Vanitas, when he's with Ven, says Keyblade warriors will flock here to battle within Kingdom Hearts. And for some reason, he chooses Terra Am I to buy that there are no other key? If he says Keyblade wielders were flock here, I am led to believe there are other Keyblade wielders around, and I'm pretty sure Xehanort can just pick and choose what one he wants to make his vessel.
Hmm. Okay, that's the problem then of just not knowing how many dang Keyblade. Like, are they like an organization here? Are they like full on the Jedi Order of the time? Are they like, does everybody belong to the same group, or are they, or is it more like you have this group which seems to be the most seem the most functional, and then you just have a bunch of others just zooming around. Because I always get the sense, and this is the way I like to play it in my series, and I think Kingdom Hearts 1 does this as well. Is Sora's like, he's the last airbender. He is the last Keyblade wielder. He's the
Mm-hmm.
last guy to get it. Or he's the first person to get it in a long time.
Yeah.
And then, later Riku and Kairi will get them too. And sort of like, well, the way I play it is they're like, it dwindled down to like this group, and that's the way I always thought about it. Um, I
But
think
I
that's
don't.
just the dialogue there.
I think, but from what they're telling us, from what we're to understand, there are more Keyblade wielders out there. So with that in mind, that makes his. I have a hard time buying his plan even more that he hasn't already achieved this somehow. Especially when we factor in the time travel and everything, and why there are things with that don't make sense either.
Well, he didn't do the time travel just yet, I think. How far back did he time travel?
He traveled back to his young self.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
So there are a lot of parts of this that I have a hard time making sense
And it's
of.
weird that they say he was around during the Keyblade War.
Was he around during the Keyblade War?
Aren't Ericus and Xehanort like his last survivors?
No. The odd part is, and this is what Union Cross says, we finally learn what Ventus's origins are. He was a child from the Keyblade War.
When did? Oh, really? Okay. Well,
Yeah. He's one of the surviving members of the Keyblade War. He just doesn't have any memory of it.
maybe that. Well, I can see why he now chooses. Well, the way I would imagine this, and we're just getting into headcanon, but I like this anyway, so I'm just gonna talk about it.
It's hard not to because of how
Yeah. Well,
screwed up this all is.
the way I think it should have been played, and I think the idea is okay. So Xehanort's young, and obviously he's ambitious. He's what Terra should be. Obviously, right?
Uh-huh.
And he discovers the Keyblade War incident, probably through like a book, and he becomes fascinated by it. And the way I play it is like he finds out, oh, there's a world beyond the Keyblade War. If this happens again, the world will reshape itself, kind of a thing. I think he becomes so fascinated by that because of maybe he just doesn't like the world he lives in now. Maybe.
I think that might be where they're going. The funny thing is, I think that might be where they're going with it, Joel. Because at the beginning of this game, we see young Xehanort on Destiny Island saying this world is just too small.
That's probably why he doesn't like the world. Maybe he wants to reshape it. God complex. And the idea is that he's searching and searching. He's researching for like decades, and he becomes an old man by the time he finally figures it out. Age helps the brain.
Uh-huh.
And basically, then by the time he's an old man, he realizes, okay, these are the things I need to do, so I can set up another incident that will trigger another Keyblade War. And because of a Keyblade War, that will reshape the world, and I will use that. And now with the knowledge I have, I will then use the powers I have to reshape the world in my image once this all goes down.
Mm-hmm.
And I need Terra to just preserve my aging body just a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I would also make it that Ericus is the only Keyblade master. He and Xehanort are the only, and maybe Yenset are the only ones that are still around.
Oh yeah, I plugged my series. I said that the Keyblade Masters dwindled down to like 3.
Mm-hmm. So it's hard to really say without going into detail with other games, but it's like I said, it's just information we don't have.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And that's a big portion of this game hinges on that.
Right. Because I've always said Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and not 1, 2, and 3. 1, Chain of Memories, and 2, they form like a perfect little mini trilogy. Well, okay, not perfect, but a mini trilogy enough where if you just play those games,
You'll get
that's
a satisfying ending.
yeah. I guess it's some TV series do this too, where they have like a season finale that's like, okay, you can end here. There might be a few threads open, but you can end here, and I'll be happy. Once Upon a Time had like two of those for season three. Um, I think the first half, season three, was a better ending. Um, but it's like okay, like we got through the characters to a point like where we can stop. Like one Chain of Memories and two are sort of like Sora, Riku, and Kairi's story.
Yeah.
It's their personal journey, and then Birth by Sleep comes around, and the idea is the universe that expands. There's now this bigger thing that's been going on the whole time, and then Dream Drop Distance recoded and Days
358 over 2 days.
are dealing with this.
Yes.
And then when
And
3 comes,
DD.
it's supposed to all tie in.
And we're supposed to stop and this and it'll be the end of the Xehanort saga, as Nomura calls it.
Right. Problem is, it just doesn't fit very well.
No, and part of that is just due to lack of planning on Nomura's part. I'm led to believe that, especially with. And some people will say, I think Nomura had this planned the whole time. I'm like, I highly doubt that. If you saw what happened with Final Fantasy 15, I highly doubt that's what happened.
And another problem is it suffers the same thing that I mean not suffers, but it suffers the thing that some prequels does is that it truncates a lot of stuff.
What do you mean?
You know how like one of the big like little things people like to make fun of first class is that Magneto and Charles were only BFFs for like a few months or a few weeks.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like this only happened like 10 years ago. I mean, I guess that makes a little more sense.
It makes sense, but like you said, things happen too quickly and are simplified too much just to get it into a playable game. I would say this much: I think this game would have worked a lot better as two separate pieces.
Like, okay, do you believe Maleficent would take 10 years to find the Princesses of Heart?
No.
Yeah. How would you offhand like? Was she like has Xehanort been plotting put this in her head for like a long time or what?
The way I would do it is that maybe the idea is supposed to be that Maleficent is stuck in her own world, and Xehanort eventually, in incarnation, gives her the opportunity to travel to other worlds.
But this would have happened a long time ago, or
I would say right before the events of 1.
Okay. Well,
or cutting close. And then the other thing I would do is have the gap between Birth by Sleep and 1 be a lot shorter.
Or, well, there's all that time. Well,
it wouldn't work because I am led to believe getting the Princesses of Heart would be very easy. I'd say 2 or 3 years max would be what it would take to get them.
Okay, that's a good point. Actually, that's a good point. Okay, so that's something for me to do later. I can still fix it. Okay, let's talk about the big thing then. Sora, Riku, and little Sora, Riku, and Kairi. Should they even be in this game? Should they even be alive? Because you can't necessarily do Vanitas without Sora being existing. Unless you want to do something like weird, like Vanitas came first, Sora came second. Kind of with Dilio. Which I've seen fanfiction do.
I like the idea that Sora was, in a way, never meant to be the original Keyblade wielder.
Oh, yeah, that's always a fun idea.
I like that idea. I like that he was just a random bloke that happened to be partnered up with a person who was supposed to get the Keyblade. I guess I buy Terra and giving the inheritance to Riku, I suppose, even though that's a bit too easy.
I think it thematically works.
I do too. I just think it happens a bit too quick for my taste.
Because, okay, here's the thing. I feel like I've always said Xehanort has more of a connection to Riku than Sora as the main enemy.
Yeah.
Or
at least Xehanort's Heartless does.
Yeah, but they're kind of all the same thing. Their world is too small.
Yeah.
They're the ambitious one. They got the darkness and stuff. So in a weird way, I think that works with Terra giving sort of like a Xehanort feels a connection to Terra then feels a connection to Riku. What they should have done is Xehanort clearly is the ultimate evil. Terra fell. Should have fallen to the dark side, but Riku fell, but came back right before it was too late.
Yeah.
So they're like a yeah.
And the idea of Ventus's heart hiding inside Sora's when he gave him the refuge at the beginning of the game, I kind of like, but it's a bit too convenient for my taste that it just happens to be Sora. I mean, it could have been anyone else. It could have been Tidus for all we care.
Yeah, there's too much destiny going on. I need a little more randomness.
Yeah, or at least more reasons for that to be the case.
Right.
I like Kyrie's integration to some degree, and I like Aqua's relationship with her. I hope we see more her and Kyrie interact more in 3.
Speaking of Kyrie, Aqua has the Lucky Charms. Just happens to have those Lucky Charms. And no, not those Lucky Charms.
And I like the idea of the Wayfinders, and I can buy that would be something they would have gotten because, of course, Xehanort came to that world, so maybe it's a thing he spread.
Maybe, yeah.
I can buy that.
Want to talk more about Venus a little bit?
Yes.
He's my favorite part. I still would have preferred it if they made him more psychotic and hammed it up. Like, he's just full on nuts, but maybe that's just my personal taste.
I think if they had mixed that a bit more, I think that would have been even more fun. And maybe we'll get that later on because
how would you want it? Just character wise, would you like performance?
I would have liked him to have maybe hammed it up a bit. I would have liked Haley Joel Osment to ham it up a bit more. He hams it up, and I would love him to run a step further. Because in the Japanese version, the voice actor of Sora really, really hams it up as Vegeta said. It's pretty funny.
Is he like Mark Hamilling it or something?
To some degree, yes.
I really gotta listen to the Japanese version. Yeah, cause that's my ideal Venus is like he's channeling his own Mark Hamill Joker.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, Mark Hamill was in this game.
Yes, he was, and he wasn't hamming it up. Well, he kind of was.
He didn't have I think he will ham it up in the future when he's given an opportunity to.
Right, like I didn't like, but he wasn't doing like a Luke Skywalker.
No, thankfully.
No, well, for one thing, Luke's too gentle of a character. Ericus is more like he'll kill you.
And let's talk about that real quick. The fact that Ericus is willing to destroy them.
Yeah, he's the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
Like, see, this is why I compare the Keyblade wielder to the Jedi Council, or at least this version.
Yeah. I don't know what to. I hate to say this. I can't really talk about Ericus because he really isn't a character. He's just a guy who's there to do things and to advance the plot along when you see him.
Well, Aqua's the Obi-Wan in that he represents everything the Keyblade Masters need to be.
Yes.
And Ven is to a certain extent. Well, he's more the kind, help your fellow guy out kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ericus is a plot device.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of, I think they really wanted to go with this Star Wars idea of like the Keyblade Masters aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
At least their leadership isn't.
And I'm not sure that idea is even at the forefront because we don't spend enough time dealing with that.
You know what world they should have had and they didn't, and it always will bother me to this day. Where's Atlantica?
Yeah.
Do you remember in Atlantica, King Triton knows about the Keyblade, and he just goes on and on about how it's destructive and like there's like he knows something's going. You could tell something's going on, and
that's a huge missed opportunity.
And they've never addressed that. Like, what did go? Like, is he in the the new one, the one that's set in the past?
Set in the past.
You know, during the Keyblade War.
X-Cross. I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Yes. Because that's where he needs to be. Like, I can see King Triton being around during the Keyblade War. He's old.
Yeah.
I think he's immortal.
Then again, time is very odd in the Kingdom Hearts universe.
Yes, it is. Aurora somehow still Well, I guess she was asleep and stuff.
Maybe the idea is supposed to be they've had the princesses for a while, but they could not find Kyrie.
Or Jasmine or Alice.
Yeah. Maybe that's what the idea is supposed to be. They found most of them but could not find them, and the worlds got lost, so they didn't age properly.
That's possible. I might do your thing though and just say this happens. So starting 2 years later.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to ask yourself then why is I'll get to it later.
Yeah. The idea that Terra / Xehanort is supposed to be Ansem's apprentice is a bit.
I can buy it somewhat.
I can buy it to some degree. I think it's a bit too easy that everything that happens after that is what happens.
I don't know. I feel like Brig was there to like make.
Yeah, you're right.
As the contingency.
Yeah.
He's more contingent. They don't have as many contingencies as Palpatine. Let's face it.
Yeah, and Brig is. I'll give this. I like Brig in this game. I think from when he's on there, he's fun to watch, and we're definitely going to see more of Zigbar or Brig later on in the other games.
Yeah,
so
I like Brig as like Xehanort's number
second
hand, sort of like you're my contingency.
Yeah,
like your job is to make sure that this rest of this plot goes forward.
He's kind of the Boba Fett of Kingdom Hearts.
Did that make Vanitas the Darth Vader?
Yes.
Imagine at the end of the Kingdom Hearts game, it's like you got a bunch of these soldiers coming along. They're in a dark hallway, and then you just see Vanitas ignite his Keyblade, and he just starts wailing on all of them with the bombastic music in the background.
That'd be hilarious. What else?
Least favorite world?
Oh yeah. My
favorite version.
Right. My favorite world, probably. I like Aqua's version of Enchanted Domain, the Maleficent world.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
My least favorite would have to be. I'll say the Dwarf Woodlands.
Which version?
Terra's.
Yeah. Favorite for me, Keyblade Graveyard Ven. And you know why.
Yeah.
Finally get to see Vanitas' face.
Yeah.
It's fun watching Vanitas Sori do an evil laugh. That's just so much fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. You just get to see the expression. Like, see, that's the kind of thing. Like, I love when you actually see his face. You just see the expressions.
Yeah.
Like, like, I want to see more, like, that maddening look.
Yeah.
Least favorite. I didn't get enough chance to get through the world. I don't know. I'll just go with the Disney one.
With which one?
Disney movie.
Oh, Disney Town, yeah. Actually, yeah, I'll change my answer. That's the most pointless world in the game.
Yeah. Also, do you find it? I was actually watching the Dwarf world with Ven. Ven acted really silly in that world. I'll say that.
Yes.
Like you're acting like a 5-year-old here, kid.
Yeah. Also, the fact that that's Pete's introduction is a bit too easy.
Yeah.
It's because he's in there, and the reason why, and I wish we got more of a good reason for why he gets banished. I think the way he gets banished is a bit too kid-friendly in a game that isn't too kid-friendly.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts is weird with its tones. 1 minute you're in Disney Town, the next you're watching a man try to kill a 13-year-old.
Well, to be fair, this we got a game where we were expected to believe that Goofy died.
Yeah, but that's not the reason why Kingdom Hearts 2 is PG-13.
No, I know. Oh, I know that. I'm just saying, in a world we can do darker stuff with the Disney things, especially after that. Especially that's the moment when we see Mickey ignite his Keyblade. He throws off his coat and ignite that Keyblade, and everybody.
Yeah, and
then that entire section where you're just enraged, just fighting the characters with the Final Fantasy characters. That stuff is great.
Oh yeah, Mickey was yeah. Okay. What else can we talk about then? I think that this game's existence now really hinders on 3.
Yeah,
Because 2 hindered on 1 and 2 was based off of Kingdom Hearts 1 and Chain of Memories. I always want to call it 2.
yeah,
Because Chain of Memories is technically the second one. It is
yeah.
the
It is.
Empire Strikes Back of the
Yeah.
trilogy. Sorry. Um, this is more like how Star Wars would originally have gone, where you'd introduce the Emperor in Episode 12. Fun
Yeah.
fact. And
Oh well.
Xehanort is the Emperor figure here.
Yeah.
But because you prequeled and you've introduced these elements that don't necessarily fit well, or at least flowingly, which is understandable in some cases. Um, 3 now really hinders on it because 3 is based off of now Birth by Sleep, Days, DD.
Recoded DD. Technically 5 games.
Yeah, technically 1, 2, and 3 as well, depending on how much they take from
And depending on 2.8.
that too. So it's sort of like now, how much weight will this game hold when 3 comes out is sort of like the beginning of the official Xehanort saga.
The problem is 3 has a is in a really prickly situation as it is. The gameplay of the game so far looks great. That's not the issue. The issue is if Nomura can take all these elements that he has set up across all these games and make it flow in one single whole and make it conclude in a satisfying way. He's built up a very large challenge for himself. Will he do it? He might do part of it. Will he get it done completely? I doubt it.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that. Part of that too is I think the weak link in all of this is Dream Drop Distance. In a lot of ways, this game too, to a lot of degrees, but Dream Drop Distance really convolutes it to the highest degree.
Birth by Sleep adds elements. Dream Drop Distance just makes things weird.
Yeah.
Because Birth by Sleep is kind of crucial now, if for
Yes.
3. Dream Drop Distance, not so much. Well, some.
I would say Dream Drop Distance is crucial because we get what it has to happen at the end of that game. We basically know how the final battle, from what we are to understand, is going to take place. 7 lights versus 13 darknesses.
Oh, that's another problem. They really need to add that concept in because, like, from what we can tell, Xehanort doesn't really care about getting 13 darknesses. 7 lights.
And I need another reason as to buy that. Apparently, that's the way the true X-Blade will be made. But I need more of him. I need more of him figuring all of this out instead of someone else just telling me this is what has to happen.
Do you think that maybe something that needed to happen was... Okay, I'm going to rewrite the story for a bit. Birth by Sleep relatively happens the same. Xehanort needs a body. But what happens is more... He takes over Terra's body, and that's when during that 10 years, that's when he starts figuring more stuff out. Like, right now, he's like, I'm so close, but I'm getting old. I need my pills more. I can't take over the world. I have to pay for the medication. And, do you think he should have lost his memories? Or do you think it would have been better if it were more like an infiltration? I'm going to infiltrate this guy.
I think that would have been even more interesting because they could have very easily set that up with what Ansem was what at one point researching.
Maybe like I don't know, like maybe like maybe that 10 years should have been when Xehanort was finally putting the pieces together.
Or maybe the thing to do is during those 10 years he gets his memory back quicker, but he ends up but he keeps the facade up and ends up learning a bunch more stuff and realizes this is what he has to do.
I would just have him keep his memory then if we're going that direction.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then
Because it's played sort of ambiguously as to whether or not he has them or not to some degree. Because Bray has that line at the end of the game where he says, "You're not Tara, are you?"
yeah, like it should have been like maybe Bray brings in Terra Nord, as the fans call him, and like, hey, handsome, I got this new kid. He's very bright. His name's Xehanort. He's a young and upcoming, even though he's an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like from there, he finds out more about Kingdom Hearts. Like maybe Ansem has the ancient legends in his castle because that's where they're hidden, and then
Let's talk about. Continue.
And then he'd know. Then I wouldn't know how you get stuff like maybe like that's when he meets the king. Because remember in the flashback he meets the king. Although that shouldn't shock him that there's another world out there. If he were the Keyblade Master. And then somehow he meets Maleficent. I wouldn't know how you connect those two.
Yeah.
Or maybe he tried to attempt to take Aurora's heart, but then realizes he can't do this alone, so he finds Maleficent. He tells them all about the stuff.
Yeah. The other thing we need to talk about before we cut this off is throughout all of these games, throughout every single one of them, we dance around and tiptoe around what exactly Kingdom Hearts is and what its feats are.
Is it heaven? Is it unlimited power? Is it?
Well, all we are being given so far is that it's supposed to be the heart of all worlds, which makes sense. However, everything else regarding it has never been fully touched upon. I'm talking about here, because in this game we add on more mythology to it, but it still is never coherent enough for me to fully grasp it.
And this is why writing a Kingdom Hearts series is very hard.
Because the conceit behind the series, the namesake of the series, has never been properly defined.
I've always just sort of taken it as the center of the multiverse or the universe. You kill it and everything dies, or you control it and you rule all.
Which I'm surprised no one has tried to do yet. Why has no one talked about destroying the heart of all worlds?
I thought that's what Xehanort wanted to do.
No, he wants to. I guess. I think. Maybe.
This is why Maleficent's plan is easier. Take over the world.
Yeah,
she's the point.
Kingdom Hearts will belong to her, and then she can do whatever she wants.
Right, and then there's of course then it gets all more complicated. Like I must put these worlds in darkness. What does that even mean? Like, are you conquering? Are you destroying? What happened to you? I don't get it.
The other thing that I find weird, and this is the other thing that I've never fully understood. Can you explain something to me, Joel? Please explain something to me.
I will try.
Where are the Heartless?
Okay, there are Heartless in the game.
I know, but where are they during the main events of it?
Oh, that's another thing that's always bugged me. I always felt...
because the other really weird thing, unless there's an explanation, if someone will explain to me where they are during this game and why they are in the Keyblade War, explain that to me. Someone please tell me that, because I don't understand that.
The question of the Heartless is, where do their origins lie?
Yeah.
Because in 1, clearly there's a bunch of them. And in 2, and in everything else. There's a bunch of them. Clearly in 1 there's a lot, because in Master Xehanort has not Master.
And Joel, here's the weird thing. I forgot to mention this. We do see them at another point. We see Ven training with our Neo Shadows.
Yes, that's what I said. There are Heartless in the game,
and that's the weird part. Where are they in the chunks?
Yeah, The only explanation I can fathom is that at this point they are still very small. They haven't spread like the wildfire.
And
Uh,
even, but I even hesitate believing that because in the Keyblade War and the Unchained games, there are Heartless around and you fight them.
where the Keyblade War? Oh yeah, that's
Huh?
right. Oh, that's right. The
In
big.
the other worlds that you play, they are in these worlds.
Well, in changed. Well, oh wait. Well, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
And even in Kingdom Hearts 2, Jensen said there will always be Heartless as long as there is darkness in the hearts of people.
I can maybe. The only thing I can think of, maybe Ven's unversed chased them off. I don't know. Like this is our territory.
I have a hard time believing that too.
Or I don't know. Maybe Xehanort was so powerful he told the Heartless, "Hey, scram! I want these unversed to handle it."
I buy Xehanort controlling the Heartless, but I don't buy him also not using them.
I think then they just have a very bad continuity error. That's the only explanation I can think of.
I don't. That's the. I'm
Because
trying here, people. I'm really
I
trying.
can't think of a logical explanation. Okay, so
I can't either.
I say in my series, I hate using my series as like the excuse. I'm not trying to. I'm just thinking of other paths.
Well, you have to think of something because because it is unless there's an explanation to it somewhere that I have not seen.
Okay,
Someone
here's the
please
thing,
tell
though.
this to me.
I do know that in one, the Heartless have really gotten bad. Like it's always kind of been, they've always kind
Yeah,
of been there, but by one, it's like really bad, and there's like this machine that creates artificial Heartless now. Because there's a difference between pure bloods and there's a third, like a second type of Heartless, which
Emblem.
emblem Heartless, so the more wacky looking kind. Which apparently were created by a machine that Maleficent took over during her attack on Hollow Bastion, and I think Xehanort was using at the time when he controlled Hollow Bastion.
Yeah.
So that explains like the immense effusion, like even Master Instances, there was immense effusion of Heartless during that time. So I always got that impression that okay, this is like the peak of Heartless infestation of the Heartless
Yeah.
plague. And during the Birth by Fleet time, at least at first, I thought, oh, maybe the Heartless are just like weak in numbers right now. Like maybe things haven't gotten so bad to the point where they're like tens of thousands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of anything. Where are the nobodies then? That's my question.
Yeah. That's an even better question. Where are the nobodies?
Are there always nobodies if there are always Heartless? Because okay,
That's
here's the thing.
that's the idea too.
Here's the thing. Unversed I buy not being around because I like the idea of Unversed and Vanitas are the same thing.
Yes.
Like the minute Vanitas shows up, then you can have your army of Unversed.
Yeah.
When he's not around or he's dead or what have you, then there are no Unversed. But the other factions not so much.
Yeah. The more I talk about this game, the less I like it.
There's a lot of good ideas and interesting
Yeah.
characters.
There's final thoughts, Joel. Why don't you give your final thoughts?
Great villains. Two of my favorite characters of Kingdom Hearts. Characters I really love seeing what other fans have to play with them. How I'm gonna play with them that sounds so wrong. When I do my Kingdom Hearts series. Conceptually I can see where they wanted to go. It's just execution wise, it's really bad. Well, I mean not terrible. But still wonky, and it really hinders on whether 3 can make it feel part of the wider universe.
My final thoughts are going to be, like Joel said, 3 is the catalyst. If it is great and ends up doing great things, then this game may be elevated because of it. That is entirely possible. However, as a standalone game, it has some really, really, really weak execution and some really sloppy writing. And ideas that conceptually work on paper aren't interleaved enough to make a grander whole.
Yeah, 3 better put Venus in a major character or I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah.
I love that character so much.
So is that all we have to say, Joel?
Thoughts on the soundtrack?
I love the soundtrack.
Um, yeah,
I
that's
will
all
say,
I can think of.
yeah, I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is really good.
Yep,
Yoko Shimomura does a really good job as always.
it just doesn't. Does Birth by Sleep does not neatly fit into Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah,
Even in, I feel like the Star Wars prequels neatly fit into A New Hope, even more than Birth by Sleep
yeah,
does to Kingdom Hearts 1 at this point. Um,
yep.
so yeah, that's it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And hopefully we'll talk more Kingdom Hearts soon. I want to talk about Kingdom Hearts 1, the original,
Yeah,
eventually. That should be your next game, Cole.
yeah. That's probably what we'll play next.
Good. But until next time, I'm JD123.
And I'm Nero Cole telling you, may the force be with you.
Always, you should have done a Kingdom Hearts saying, though.
I was thinking of one, but I couldn't think of one.
Um, my friends are my power, and I'm theirs.
Good night.